Galatians 2, verse 14. That area. And some of you, if you've read anything that I've ever written on this, you know I get there eventually. It's a great example of a place where Peter, though he being raised as a Jewish man, would have considered the Gentiles just unclean to eat with. He becomes a Christian. There are other Gentiles who are Christians. He's a Jew and he's a Christian. And yet he can't overcome the feeling like, yeah, you guys might be Christian, but you're still Gentiles, and he stopped eating. There might be a lot of different motivations for why he stopped eating with Christians who were Gentiles. But when Paul confronts him, he doesn't actually say, Peter, you're breaking the no racism law. He confronts him and says, you're not in line with the gospel. How can we Jews, who know that you're justified by faith alone and not by anything we do, how can we look at the Gentiles like this? How can we see ourselves as superior to the Gentiles? Now, what is Paul doing at this point? First of all, can you look in the law of God, just the law, and the things that the Bible says, God says, here's how you should live, and see that the law of God requires that you not be a racist? I think yes, actually. There's plenty of places where the Bible talks about not treating people on the basis of race and not being prejudiced and not being a respecter of persons. There's all sorts of things like that. But what the gospel does with justification, see, racism isn't simply a breaking of the rule. Racism is motivated by something. What's it motivated by? It's motivated by a desire to bolster your own sense of superiority. You're insecure yourself. You need to feel like I'm right and they're wrong. And so there's all sorts of things going on the inside. And not only does the gospel, especially the gospel that you're saved by grace alone, that you are no better than anybody else, that you're a sinner, there's no more amazingly leveling thing than that. You know, James chapter 1, 8, 9, and 10 in that area talks so much about the fact that the rich and the poor, in some ways, now that you're a Christian, if you're poor, you have to think about your high position. If you're rich, you have to think about your low position. There's something about the gospel, that changes class attitudes and changes racial attitudes. Could you get that out of the law? Yes, but with the gospel and the spectacles of the gospel, you look at the law and you see it in a way you never would have seen it before, and there's a motivation. There's a deep motivation because of what Jesus did for you. It's powerful.